If you've ever lost a bed of vegetables overnight to rootworms, cutworms or white grubs, you know that sinking frustration, the kind that makes you want to tear out your hair and start over. But what if the secret to keeping your soil pest-free wasn't some synthetic spray or store-bought trap, but a technique farmers used long before modern pesticides existed? During the early 20th century, especially through the Great Depression and the Second World War, farmers and gardeners discovered that one crop, when buried instead of harvested, could stop pest infestations cold. It didn't involve poison. It didn't require fancy tools. It was simple soil science, practiced with nothing but plant matter and timing. And the results were so effective that modern regenerative farmers are quietly reviving it today. So, if pests are winning the war in your garden, or you're tired of losing good soil to chemical treatments, stay with me, because this forgotten method might just become your best line of defense this fall. The buried crop method began as a survival solution, not a scientific one. During the Dust Bowl and wartime years, synthetic pesticides were either unavailable or too expensive for small growers. Farmers had to work with what they had, and what they had was biology. They noticed that certain crops, when ploughed under instead of pulled, made the soil less appealing to root-damaging insects. Early records from the United States Department of Agriculture's soil conservation programs in the 1930s describe how farmers in the Midwest would plant mustard, radish, or even marigold between rows of potatoes and beans, not for harvest, but to bury them once they matured. The reasoning was simple but brilliant. These plants released compounds into the soil that acted as natural fumigants. When their roots and leaves decomposed underground, they gave off gases and bioactive substances that disrupted pest larvae, nematodes, and fungal pathogens. Farmers didn't fully understand the chemistry then, but they saw results: cleaner roots, healthier soil, and fewer pests season after season. What we now know is that certain crops, especially those in the brassica family, like mustard, radish and turnip, contain sulfur-based compounds called glucosinolates. When these plants are damaged or decomposed in moist soil, the compounds break down into natural biocides, such as isothiocyanates, which have similar effects to commercial soil fumigants. Essentially, you're using the plant's own defense system as a weapon against soil-borne pests. This process is known today as biofumigation. When done correctly, it not only suppresses pests, but also feeds soil microbes and increases organic matter. The buried plant material becomes food for beneficial bacteria and fungi, which then outcompete harmful pathogens. In Second World War-era Europe, this method was so widely used that it appeared in agricultural manuals distributed to war gardens. They called it green ploughing, and it was their way of keeping fields productive without chemicals. You can do exactly what those early gardeners did, no chemicals required. The first step is choosing the right crop. Mustard greens are among the most effective because they grow quickly, develop a lot of biomass, and contain high levels of pest-repelling compounds. Daikon, radish, and arugula work just as well in cooler climates, while marigolds and calendula are perfect if you prefer something flowering that doubles as a pollinator attractant before burial. Plant your chosen crop thickly in the bed you plan to rest for a few weeks or months. Let it grow until it's about knee-high or just beginning to flower. That's when the pest-fighting compounds are at their peak. Then Cut it down and work it into the top 6 inches of soil using a shovel or garden fork. The key step here is moisture. Lightly water the soil after burying the plants to help activate decomposition and release the natural gases. Then cover the area with a light mulch layer or even a plastic sheet for 1 to 2 weeks to trap those gases where the pests live. After that resting period, you can remove the cover and plant your next crop directly into that rejuvenated soil. You'll find the texture improved, the smell earthy, and pest activity noticeably reduced. It's a soil cleanse, achieved entirely through natural means. What's often overlooked about this buried crop method is how deeply it benefits the soil long-term. The decomposing roots create channels that improve aeration and water movement. The microbial bloom that follows decomposition strengthens soil structure and builds humus. Something that's especially valuable if your beds are heavy or compacted. There's also a balancing act happening below the surface. While the biofumigant compounds suppress harmful organisms, the increase in microbial diversity ensures that beneficial species recover quickly and take over. In essence, you're hitting the reset button on your soil biology. Farmers who've used this technique over multiple seasons often find they can skip chemical fertilizers entirely because their soil becomes self-sustaining again. You can apply this same principle in small urban plots or containers too. If you've had problems with fungus gnats or root rot in potted plants, simply plant a quick-growing mustard green or radish. Let it reach full size, then chop it into the potting mix before replanting. The decomposing roots will cleanse the medium naturally, without chemicals or heat sterilization. Modern pest control often focuses on killing the invader rather than restoring balance. The buried crop method does the opposite. It strengthens the soil so pests can't thrive in the first place. It's preventive rather than reactive, and that's why it's so powerful. Chemical treatments work for a season, but they destroy the microbial diversity that keeps your soil alive. Once that balance is gone, pests return even stronger. When you use green ploughing or biofumigation, you're working with the soil's own immune system, reinforcing its natural defences with organic compounds that break down cleanly and leave no residue. It's the same concept that sustained wartime gardens through scarcity, and it's just as relevant in an age where sustainable food growing matters more than ever. Your garden doesn't need pesticides, it needs biology on its side. As we head deeper into the growing seasons, pest pressure will always be part of the challenge. But the buried crop method proves that the solution doesn't have to come from a bottle. It can come from seeds you already have in your pantry. Mustard, radish or marigold, planted, buried and decomposed, can give your soil the natural power it needs to stay healthy and balanced. Try it once in a tired bed this fall and see how your next planting performs. Chances are you'll notice fewer problems, stronger roots and soil that feels alive again. If this guide helped you see soil health in a new light, make sure to subscribe to Hydrohaven for more deep-dive garden strategies that blend old-world wisdom with modern science. Share this with a fellow grower who's fighting pests the hard way, because sometimes the smartest solutions are the ones that were buried and forgotten.